world, wild and fragile, vibrant and untamed. Gran Pulse. It's a place where lives are ruled by the brutal struggle for survival and the callous and uncaring will of the false. There is no such thing as mercy. Only a never-ending string of trials that weed out the weak and leave only the strong. Reigns knew the truth. The purpose lying at the heart of all the False's actions. Recalling their lost deity and returning the world to its former glory. People were never anything more than sacrifices. And Cocoon's destruction? It's just a way to wake a sleeping god. But would bringing the Maker back into this world really lead to our salvation? The Maker created False, and they, in their desperation to be reunited with the Maker, created Lassie. And Lassie? I wonder what we'll end up creating. Our future looked bleak, but as long as we could keep our spirits up, we'd find a way to change our fate. Somehow.
You were having a dream.
A pretty strange dream.
Hey guys, have any luck?
No sign of anyone else. But we did find plenty of bloodthirsty wildlife and crumbling ruins.
Long day?
Well, guys, we've run out of places to search around here. Where's Hope?
He's off with the chocobo, getting supplies. Hello.
You all by yourself?
It's Brand.
What? We gotta find him.
Hello and welcome back to my Let's Challenge of Final Fantasy XIII. It has been a long time since I've played this. since I've had time to upload, but finally we are back into a position where I can start uploading more frequently. Now, some admin things that I need to address. So, first of all, my PlayStation 3, if you haven't heard on one of my other, I think I said it in some of my other videos, my PlayStation 3 unfortunately died, so I had to get a new one, and obviously that means I've lost all of my save data, which means I had to go through the entirety of the first 10 chapters of this game again, just to get back to here so we could start recording. And I did that actually pretty fast. You can see actually it took me 12 hours to do so. I was zipping through, I skipped so many battles and stuff like that. I've also been playing on normal speed, and we'll also get to that quickly. I actually need to sort out some things here, such as we need to start putting back on subtitles. Apologies for not having subtitles during that rather long cutscene that we just had, and also take the battle speed back down to slow. So, some other things. So obviously that will obviously have a factor to do with certain things. For example, our Cristeria are slightly different. Like we've got to various different areas with each one. I think we've got slightly less CP than we would have had I not had we been able to recover our previous save file. So we've got slightly less CP than we normally would. That's only making it harder for me, so I don't really feel like that's certainly not an advantage. Additionally, because I was playing on normal, that will mean that essentially, obviously I would never be able to recreate every single battle exactly how it was. So, especially when we're talking about, I should have hopefully collected every single weapon along the way, given that I'm pretty sure you can collect every single weapon in the game just through treasure spheres. And I'm pretty sure I got every single treasure sphere, but stuff like, especially components is the thing. And we'll have various different amounts of components, and the reasons for that is obviously not only that obviously every battle doesn't go exactly the same, so you can't tell how many drops from every enemy you're going to get are the same and stuff like this. Now I'm hoping that roughly the fact that I've been skipping battles, meaning that I've obviously had less chances to get components, has changed the fact, because generally, because I was playing on normal speed, that means I was getting higher battle ratings, which means I was getting more drops. So hopefully the fact that I did fewer battles will sort of roughly equal the same thing. But I can't really judge for that. To be honest, I don't really see it mattering much, because the only thing that you use these things for is for upgrading our weapons, and we're not even considering upgrading our weapons until really after Chapter 11. So we don't need to worry about that, hopefully, so much. Some other things to talk about. Okay, the other thing is obviously I've been playing the battle speed on slow, and I've been doing some research into that. I thought that slow meant that we were slower relative to everyone else. It turns out that, obviously this is rather silly saying that, it's this, 40-odd episodes into this series, but essentially, slow battle speed does not actually slow down you relative to everyone else, it slows down everyone. So that means you're not getting so much of so much of a disadvantage, and in many cases you are getting an advantage, especially when it comes to Eidolon battles. So Eidolon battles we'd have definitely are easier to do on slow than on normal. Aside from those, there are a few sort of little tweaks you can consider that most of the time that theoretically slow should be slow should be easier than normal. But from my perspective, the reason that I find slow more difficult is because it's harder to maintain stagger. Because the stagger still goes up by the same amount and still decreases at the same speed. So if you try, it's very difficult to get a very quick stagger if you're playing on slow, because you can't maintain that stagger easily. And if you don't have a maintained stagger, then it decreases super fast, and you don't have the time to actually attack again in order to refill the stagger. So, in my opinion, slow does make things a lot more difficult, because it does make it harder to maintain stagger. And I feel like, whilst it might not be the case later in the game, when you're talking about like trying to 5-star mission ratings and stuff like this, we'll see that hopefully at the end of this episode. Essentially, we'll start getting battles which you want to do as fast as possible. We'll start getting stuff where you want to try and do it as efficiently as possible. And I can see slow certainly. I can see certain battles where people might say that slow is easier, but personally, I always think slow is harder, because especially for a through the game playthrough, like especially because we're starting from the start of the game and we're just going through the whole game, through every single chapter, rather than just talking about, say, a few of some of the toughest battles in the game later on. So I personally hope that, I mean, I've always considered slow to be harder. I think that's okay, but essentially what I'm saying is that the whole thing where I said that you should do the Let's Challenge on slow, I'm going to remove that sort of thing. It's going to be removed from the my rules for the Let's Challenge, the sort of stuff that I post in the description of these videos. Just because I feel like, just because I find it more difficult doesn't mean everyone else will, and so some people might find slow much easier. Anyway, the other thing that we need to do is also we need to recap Chapter 10, because this is the first episode we have here in Chapter 11 on Gran Pulse, so we need to recap Chapter 10, and we're going to do that now. So, at the end of Chapter 9, the Palamecia, the Sanctum flagship, is tumbling through the air after our hero's battle with gallant Daisley, also known as Bartandalus, head of the Sanctum False. Daisley gives them Daisley's owl. You see the owl that goes around Daisley. Essentially, it's like a font of his power, sort of like a source of some of the False's power. And when he merges with the owl, it becomes he becomes his fuller form. That owl transforms into a great ship which allows them to escape, and they escape into Eden itself, the floating city in the middle of Cocoon. That is essentially the capital city and is also the location of the Foul Sea Eden, which keeps Cocoon afloat. They fly into this city and then arrive. Look like they're going to crash into a building, but instead go through a portal into a strange and mysterious place where they don't actually understand what's going on. At the start, they sort of recover from what's just happened, this crazy scenario, and they're recovering also from what Daisley told them at the end of, just after their battle. Obviously, Snow especially is recovering from hearing the news from Daisley that actually Sarah was just a pawn of the Fal'Cie, was just being used by the Fal'Cie in order to get more people to come to the Fal'Cie so the Fal'Cie could make more l'Cie, and that's why her focus was achieved. That's why she turned to Crystal. So, sort of stunned with this new idea that essentially Cocoon is just built for that they need to that their aim is to destroy Cocoon, but still they're confused. Why does a Sanctum Fal'Cie want to destroy Cocoon? He was happy to tell them about their focus. He almost wants it to happen, but why does he want Cocoon to fall? So they proceed through this mysterious thing, and they realise, Fang and Vanille both being originally from Gran Pulse, they realise that actually this is an Ark. And Arks are special facilities that were developed by people on Pulse that were essentially used as storages for living weapons and various other things that they were going to use in order to destroy Cocoon. In the meantime, though, the other thing that the Arks were used for was the Arks were used for training up l'Cie and making sure that l'Cie either learned how to master their new magical powers, or they would die immediately. So it's essentially, and then everyone realizes why they have been brought here to the 5th Ark. They've been brought here because Daisley wants to tune them, to fine-tune them into sharply edged killing machines so that they are able to actually become Ragnarok. He wants them to become stronger, and indeed he's been controlling their journey throughout. He's been controlling the course of their journey. You actually see the owl, it's not Minerva, it's like Merenva, something very similar. But it's constantly been looking down on them. You see it in the Lake Brescia, right? When they find that ship, it's always watching, and you can tell that he has been calculating their entire control, their entire pathway up to this point, and he's been ensuring that they've been fighting greater and greater challenges, so they get stronger and stronger and stronger. So, the other reason is they're probably wondering why on earth an Ark is actually here on Cocoon. How does this Ark get here? They're originally from Pulse. But once more, it's probably part of the greater Fal'Cie plan that Bartandalus, after the War of Transgression, when they were taking supplies from Cocoon back. They were taking supplies from Pulse back up to Cocoon to repair Cocoon after the war. Maybe also this arc was brought up in order before Daisley could eventually reveal his grand plan. So, our heroes continue to make their way through the arc, and eventually they run into Sid Raines, the Sanctum officer who'd been helping Fang, who'd helped Fang after the incident at the Falsi Kajata at Yuride Gorge, and also he obviously met Snow and Lightning and all these, and he supplied the ship that would then allow them to go and rescue Saz and Vanille on the Palamecia. However, why is he here? And suddenly they realise he reveals himself to be a Sanctum Lassie. He's been a Sanctum Lassie longer than they've been Pulse Lassie, and his focus has been to guide them, to take them through. If you've wondered whether, how the cavalry led by Sid Raines have always appeared just out of the blue, just to sort of solve the problems by rescuing Fang, for example, or by destroying the big hover tank in Palampolum. It's all been constructed, it's all been manipulated by Bartandus. He's been telling Sid to lead them through and ensure that they succeed. And that's another reason why their luck that's been saving them has actually been manufactured by the Foul Sea. However, Sid Raines has realised something different. He's seen these Lassie fight. He knows that they want to fight against the focus that has been given to them, and so he too deems that he should also fight his own fate. So, rather than help the Lassie anymore, he actually wants to fight them, and if he stops them, if he destroys the Lassie here, then they can't go on further, they can't destroy Ragnarok, and whilst he may fail his focus, he would rescue the whole of Cocoon. So it's Lassie against Lassie in a tremendous battle, and in the end, our heroes defeat Sid Raines, and he turns to Crystal. Now, there are two ways that people that I view it. There's the sort of the canon. I guess there's the canon way, the sort of the way that the game wants you to believe, which is that because he challenged his own fate, because he attempted his focus his own way, then therefore he actually broke the spell of the Lassie and essentially turned to Crystal himself. However, in my opinion, what actually happened is that he turned into Crystal purely because he achieved his focus. In battling them, in them defeating him, they become much stronger. You see it. Everyone gets a Crystarium increase and all this sort of stuff. Our heroes get stronger by defeating Sid, so surely by helping them get stronger and stronger, he has just helped them. He has essentially completed his focus, and that's why I believe he turns to Crystal. Another thing that Sid says is that he finally reveals the true intentions behind all of the Falsi's actions. The reason that the reason that Cocoon Falsi wanted to destroy Cocoon is because of the Maker. The Maker is this godlike deity who created Falsi in the first place, and now what the Falsi want is they want to bring back the Maker and remake the world anew. However, in order to do that, they believe that there needs to be a fitting sacrifice, and in order to do that, what the Cocoon Falsi have been doing is they've created Cocoon as this essential human farm. They've been farming humans, creating the ideal conditions for them to prosper, and they've been building up, and then eventually they're going to get to a point where Ragnarok tears Cocoon from the sky, and all of those deaths, all of those people dying, will call the Maker back and allow the world to be reborn. So that sort of explains their actions, and indeed that sort of idea, whilst not necessarily exactly how it ends up being, is crucial to not only the story of Final Fantasy XIII, but also the next two games in the Final Fantasy XIII roster, as it were. So the sequels that come after this also explore that idea of what on earth they were trying to do. But obviously, we're not going to sit around here talking about the game any longer. We have a game to play, and so obviously, this is we're going to create our same team that we had before. I really like this team. I think this is an excellent way of going about. Snow is the best commando in the game, pretty much. So having him involved is really, really helpful. We obviously want Smart Bomb for stagger. We want Decimation for haste, and we want probably Rav, Sen, Rav. Maybe Mystic Tower is a decent one to have. I can't remember exactly how the start of this sort of chapter goes. I can't remember the sort of the difficulty level that we need to be worried about. Of course, I didn't actually get to the end of what actually happened. So, so obviously, Cid reigns. So after battling Cid, our heroes progress further through the 5th arc and eventually reach this vast area where they have no idea where to go. It seems like it's a dead end. And then Snow turns back and realises he saw Cid turn to crystal. That has inspired him once more to believe that Cid turned to crystal because he acted upon his own desire. Same with Sarah. Why are these people are turning to crystal for that? And so he is okay with the fact that he can go on, protect Cocoon, and if he has to fall, if he has to become a Seath, then that is it. He is comfortable with that decision. And indeed, everyone starts to agree with him except for Fang, who stands by and says, "I don't care. What if Cocoon falls to the ground? Cocoon has always been her enemy, being someone from Pulse. She's willing to let those people die just to protect the people that she cares about, especially Vanille. Especially Vanille. Vanille is so important to her. And she's willing to let the world burn just to save Vanille. So she's willing to go on, become Ragnarok, and smite Cocoon down from the sky." However, as she's making these words, her glazed over brand starts to glow once more, starts to burst with energy, and out comes her Eidolon, Bahamut. And again, obviously her Eidolon is here because she is actually troubled. She is not sure what she's doing. She might be saying all of these things, but ultimately she doesn't know what the truth is. They have their battle. She manages to tame her Eidolon, manages to tame Bahamut, and then she is resolved. She realizes what everything means to her. Her friends who defended her from Bahamut are here, and they know that they want her to fight alongside, and she now realizes that she wants to fight alongside them. With Bahamut defeated, a new path appears, a magical, almost, conveniently, a new path appears, which leads down to a Pulse ship. The Pulse ship, which will take them through a portal here to Gran Pulse, and that's where we catch up. And after a stirring speech from Hope, as he talks about how he's going to make his own decisions from now on, not pay attention to what the Falsi are saying, he's going to think about his actions, his motives, what he sees, what he thinks, going to make every decision based on what he says. And then everyone again decides they're going to go to Pulse. And that's where they are now. Although what they've discovered is very different from the Pulse, that Vanille and Fang left, because we see a world teeming with vicious beasts and monsters, but also ruins everywhere as far as the eye can see, ruins, and no one around. So, we're now going to continue forwards. And now we're here, obviously, you sort of catch up from that first scene, having landed down here in Pulse. They sort of created a campsite, they've gone on some exploratory missions, to try and see what sort of the lay of the land, as it were. They haven't found anyone to talk to. They haven't found any sort of contact, and now they're here, hoping to rescue Hope, as they realise that from the Chocobo chick that his brand has started acting up, and everyone knows what that actually can mean. So our first enemies here are these Alaroon. Not entirely sure how you pronounce that name. So there we go. We probably should have started in, probably should have, Jesus, these guys are going to take a while to actually kill her, it seems. You can tell they do quite a decent amount of damage. But once we get the Deprotect on, then Snow's doing a load of damage, which is really good. You can see that they're weak to fire. So again, sort of these Nudibranch type enemies, weak to fire and ice, also weak to earth magic. Just like the, I think, Noctilucales that we saw, or Noctilucali, whatever they're called, the those enemies that we saw in Chapter 10. Very similar. I forget how it is when your ATB bar is moving so much slower, because I've been playing catch up all on normal speed, because why wouldn't you? There we go, lovely. So, we defeat them, and we can continue onwards. So obviously, because we've had an awful lot of catch-up to do this episode, not only just with the story, but with also, stuff like this, what we're going to do is we're most likely going to call this episode to an end relatively short. We're not actually going to get much done. This is a bit of a pity, but there we go. Pretty sure these are fire bits. So these are just basic flan. So it's not in fire. Immune to electric type moves. We definitely, just like the flan that we saw in Chapter 10, these can merge. So having the ability to launch them is very handy. Okay, lovely. So we defeat those flan. We sort of get these sort of a variety of these sort of enemies around the start. Obviously, now having access to the vast world of Gran Pulse, we'll get access. We'll meet a large number of new enemies very fast. I'm pretty sure these are all weak to fire type moves, though. So we will use that to our advantage. So again, the flan aren't too scary by themselves, so we'll just leave it for the moment. Certainly the Alroon are a lot faster to take care to get rid of. Annoyingly, I guess the only annoying thing is that still Snow is a commander with no access to the move Blitz, which is frustrating just for now. I'm pretty sure he does get access to Blitz eventually, but I can't remember exactly when. Are you weak to fire? You are weak to fire, okay. So, the etymology of Alroon. So the Alroon is the German word for mandrake, and is also the title of a novel published in 1911 about the daughter named Alroon of a prostitute that has an overactive sex drive with no concept of love. So, and this is kind of based on the legends which say that witches who make love to mandrake, or the mandrake root especially, produce offspring that has no soul or no feelings of love. So, we're now obviously going to face off against a larger flan. Essentially, much like how the flan in Chapter 10 could merge, these flan can also merge. This one's obviously called a dire flan, very similar. as with most of these sort of type of enemies, it is pretty much just a basic sort of get to stagger as fast as possible, get as many debuffs and stuff like that you can get on as possible, and then we will be able to move on. So the other thing you'll notice about Chapter 11 is that we're going to start getting CP a hell of a lot faster than we were. Also, obviously, these enemies will start respawning. So, unlike previous Final Fantasy games, I believe, we don't really have random encounters, but rather each encounter is sort of scripted. So, you know where every encounter will be. Now, one of the things I definitely want to do is we want to get Vanille her... One thing that was a matter with having less CP was the fact that Vanille has not got her extra ATB slot yet. So that is something that we definitely want to work towards. Sort of be the first port of call for her. Because getting Vanille to 4 will be very helpful. I think we can probably take these guys out with just with plain old smart bomb if we're careful. So obviously, yeah, so 2 flan can merge to form a diaphragm, essentially, which is why you want to take them out fast. But that should obviously mean that snow will start launching, which is great, exactly what we need. Bye, Mr. Flan. So obviously these sort of battles are just there. These are largely just here to sort of ensure you get back into the swing of things, ensure you know what you're doing. We are going to get another major battle, obviously, once we actually reach Hope, which should not take long. So yeah, obviously I will end up sort of like skipping a fair few battles once we actually get around to the point where we can. But until then we can just continue to make pretty decent progress through this area. We've got another dire flan here, as you can see. I'll skip this battle for now. We will be coming back through this area eventually, but I just noticed that the time was getting relatively... Time's running on. Obviously you spent too long talking at the start, so we just want to keep going. So these flan do have half physical attacks, so which is a bit of a pity, but obviously nothing you can really do about that. We'll just let snow loose on these Alraun and then we should be fine. Lovely. So that is the last battle before we reach this area and we see Hope down here.
So this is how it ends. Just wait. Now, how long has it been since we left Cocoon? Not a single soul for miles around. Not a single clue about this whole sea mess. What I'm saying is, we did well just getting this far.
But we could go a little further.
Meaning?
There's still one place.
Anil?
Oh,
Are you sure?
I'm sure.
You know, if we don't find anything this time, we won't get another chance.
Erba. The place it all began.
Oh.
The place where the Pulse Falsi lay dreaming. Vanille and Fang's home. Just maybe, it'll be the place where we find the answers we're looking for.
You're right. If we can get there.
Go ahead without me.
We can't just leave you.
We'll be fine. You've all taught me so much. You showed me how to fight.
What did I tell you? Leave the fighting to me.
I'm scared.
We understand. You're not gonna go through this ordeal alone, you know. Huh?
That's what scares me. I don't want to see you get hurt because of me. It'd be better for everyone if I just stayed behind.
Mention ordeals, and look what comes along. This is not an ordeal. This is a gift. Hope. This is the kind of power you've got inside, and it's telling you not to give up. Trust me. Oh, I get it. It's here to show you the way. Show you that you've got what it takes to get back on your feet and do this thing.
You mean that came from me?
Ready?
So here we go, of course. What does this lead to? It leads to a wonderful, huge Eidolon battle with Hope's Eidolon known as Alexander. Name probably comes from maybe Alexander the Great, the famous Macedonian king. Alternatively, it could just be, you know, the actual, just the basis of the actual name itself just means protector of mankind, from the Greek Alexandros. So we're just going to set ourselves up here with some protect and some shell. As you can see, even just supporting ourselves with protect and shell raises his Gestalt meter. I believe for Alexander it's largely protecting, healing. We could obviously... he primarily acts as a sentinel. He's actually a very defensively based Eidolon. So this isn't too bad of an Eidolon battle, even on like obviously it'll be like I was saying earlier, it'll be easier on normal speed, but it should not be that difficult at all, even on the speed. As you can see, our just sending over these Ravager spells is doing an awful lot just to raise that stagger that little bit more. I want to see him attack Fang for a little bit before I actually swap. He's doing a very nice job. Because he does a very high damage output, which is what you do need to be worried about, but ultimately you can cope with that if you're careful. So we should be fine. 2, 3. Obliterator. It's a great name for a move. Lofty Challenge. So yeah, so Lofty Challenge essentially forces someone to, will force all enemies in the area to attack. But we're doing a nice job here of keeping this Gestalt meter moving. Again, once he starts attacking, we'll probably swap to Relentless Assault for a couple of turns. I'd love for Hope wasn't standing so close to Fang. Like, the whole point is you stand away from your Sentinel. But there we go. We should hopefully get Stagger here. Sorry, Stagger, Gestalt. There we go, lovely.
Here I go!
It's such an epic Gestalt. So essentially he turns into this ginormous fortress. It's pretty beautiful. There we go. So that's going to be the final bit that we'll do this episode, I think.
That's some beast you take. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. I always thought the Eidolons appeared to set us free through death. But now, I think maybe they're here to snap us out of our slumps.
Oh, like the one you were just at?
I'll ask for help earlier next time around.
I told you. On Gran Pulse, we're all family. You can moan all you like, but you're stuck with us.
You're never alone in hell.
Listen, funny man, don't call this place hell, all right? So, we're all decided then.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe nothing would change. And maybe we'd hit a dead end. But we were at least going to see where the road would take us. The search for a home, buried in the past, and the faintest glimmer of hope. Our final journey had just begun.
I do like the little touch of just like the little interactions you see in the background there between Hope, Saz and Snow.
Let's go.
So here we have it, the no idea how you pronounce it. I think it's Archilta, maybe Archilta, something like that.
This stone, it's...
Look familiar? It's a kind of Seath. It's in the last stage. Of Seath.
Don't worry. It's no threat to anyone anymore. The sea that fail their focus becomes sea and wander the wilds. Eventually, they lose the will to go on and turn to stone. But still, even in this state, they can't forget the task they once had.
And they call out to the sea, over and over. Complete my focus.
So they're doomed to eternal regret, huh? That's pretty horrible.
But hey, we should help this one out. Come on, we can't just ignore it. Listen, if we fail our focus, it could be us suffering like that.
Wow, what a happy thought. That's not like you.
But going out of his way to help someone, that's snow all over.
So here we have the majority of the post-game introduced right here. We have Seath Stones. So They essentially are the remnants of Lucy, who turned into Seath, couldn't solve their missions, and then they wander around before eventually turning into Seath stones, and they will be able to call out to people asking, "Can you please finish my focus?" And then once you do that, that will allow you to earn special rewards by completing it, and also a large number of trophies are based around Seath stones, which is why we're going to be considering them. And obviously, the other thing is, as it says here, you can only take one Seath stone mission at a time. So we're not going to keep this team, we're going to go back to the previous team that we had.